In the early 2000s, the world was in the grip of Star Wars fever. Unless you were a teen between 1999 and 2005, you can't really imagine what it was like. We hadn't had any new Star Wars movies since the 80s, since we were little kids, and it genuinely felt like we'd be stuck with episodes 4, 5, and 6 forever. Then, The Phantom Menace was revealed and released, and yeah, it was a bit crappy, but we loved it anyway. Then came Attack of the Clones, which was a bit better. Star Wars was everywhere: merchandise, action figures, toy lightsabers. They filled the aisles at every Target and Best Buy. It was a great time to be a Star Wars fan. On top of that, video games. I'd grown up on the movies. My dad had a DOS gaming PC, and my brothers had a PlayStation and a Nintendo 64. I played all the old Star Wars games: TIE Fighter, X-Wing, Rogue Squadron, but my absolute favorite was Shadows of the Empire on the N64. I don't care what anyone says. Dash Rendar was the coolest. So imagine my delight when my brother told me about a new game coming soon: Star Wars Galaxies, an online RPG where you could create your own Star Wars character and explore the galaxy with friends. Now, this was before World of Warcraft, so MMOs, massively multiplayer online games, hadn't really hit the mainstream yet. And to my 19-year-old Star Wars nerd girl brain, this was magic. I just started college at the time. A couple of months after the game's release, I grabbed a copy from my local GameStop. And wow, I was hooked. I won't bore you by geeking out over the game too much, but let's just say I found my gaming love. I rolled 3 characters, but my favorite was Gentalis, a Twi'lek dancer who was also pretty nifty with a rifle. I'd go on hunts and take down Force Witches and Rankers, then dance for my squad to heal their wounds and buff them. Yeah, this was actually a thing in SWG. You could also be a cantina musician, a creature handler, a martial arts expert, or even a hairdresser. For real, and it was awesome. I played with a few friends. My tight crew included 2 guys I'd gone to high school with, then my college roommate and her boyfriend, and finally a German guy we met on our server but didn't know IRL. I can't remember what we used for voice chat back then, some program with a green icon, and later Skype. But in-game, we mostly used the built-in chat, since VoIP was pretty limited. Plus, using in-game chat meant other players nearby could jump into conversations too. To make things easier, I'll refer to my crew by their player names. There was me, Jen, and my 2 high school friends, Kay and Jedi Ian. My college roommate and her boyfriend were Glitter Saber and Sith Manson. The German guy? His name was Noodle Walker. One day, me, Glitter, Manson, and Noodle were deep in some Tatooine caves. We were farming materials, killing trash mobs, and working on some quests. We were chatting in-game about IRL stuff. College classes mostly, because we didn't expect to run into anyone else down there. Then it happened. Another player's name popped up in the chat. He asked us if we were talking about a certain class at our college, huh? We told him we were, and asked where he was in-game. He said to keep heading deeper into the cave. So we did. Eventually we found him, meditating in a small open area. His in-game character was a cool-looking human. None of us played as humans. His name? Make Wookie. Childish, but I laughed. Turns out Make Wookie said he went to the same college as me, Glitter, and Manson. We chatted for a bit. I remember him being super shy about everything. Glitter and I were in the same dorm room while playing and even wondered if he was making it up about going to our school. He wouldn't say what he studied or give any personal info, but he was fun. Funny. And most importantly, his character was high level, so worth befriending. Over the next few sessions, we introduced him to Kai, Jedi Ian, and the rest. Soon, the 7 of us were having nightly Star Wars adventures together.
Still, Make Wookie wouldn't reveal himself. He wouldn't meet us in real life, or even say where he lived on campus. But then it got weird. He started commenting that he'd seen me and Glitter around campus. Like, he'd say he saw us walking across the quad earlier or at the student bar. Always accurate locations. Always the right time of day. Weird, but nothing too creepy. He had a right to privacy. Still, one night Manson asked, Had we ever actually identified ourselves to make Wookiee directly? We hadn't. We never gave him full names or sent photos. Yet he could always tell where we'd been. And it was always me and Glitter, the two girls he claimed to spot. We decided to gently push him to meet up in person. That plan changed the day I came back to my dorm after class to find a note had been pushed under the door. Glitter was out. I picked up the note and saw my name on it. Inside, handwritten, it said something like, "You look really good today. Maybe we should make Wookiee." Nothing threatening on the surface. But it felt off. This was a guy who wouldn't tell us who he was now watching us in person and leaving innuendo-laced notes? No thanks. We confronted Make Wookiee in-game that night. He laughed it off, said he'd been in the area, and wanted to surprise me. He was charming, and it was hard to stay mad. I told him next time, just introduce himself. He said he'd think about it. He didn't. Instead, a few days later, he left a gift for me in our dorm's common room. A plush Ewok that talked when you press its tummy. Cute, honestly. The note attached just said, "Sorry." I thanked him in-game and repeated, "You don't need to apologize. Just introduce yourself." He didn't. Fast forward a few weeks. I'd been playing less because I'd started seeing someone. We'd gone on a few dates, nothing serious yet. He didn't play SWG, but I was working on it. Let's call him Dave. One weekend, I mentioned in-game that I'd have to log off early. I had plans. Make Wookiee asked if I was hanging out with my boyfriend. Wait, what? I had mentioned Dave in-game. Only Glitter and Manson knew about him. I asked Make Wookiee how he knew. He said he'd seen us holding hands on campus. I told him I didn't love being watched by someone whose identity I didn't even know. I meant it gently, as in, just come say hi, but Make Wookiee lost it. A string of censored expletives exploded in the chat. He called me vile names, stuff I won't even repeat here. Everyone was stunned. Then, Make Wookiee has gone offline. We were shaken. None of US knew who this guy really was. We tried to calm down, and later that night, I still went on my date with Dave, telling him everything that had happened. When I got back to my dorm, another note was pinned to the door. Another curse-filled tirade, calling me horrible names. Signed again by Make Wookiee. We started asking around. Anyone seen someone hanging near our dorm? It was a female dorm, but guys visited often. No one remembered anything suspicious. Then, we got another message from Make Wookiee in-game. Just one word. Haha, we stopped playing. It was too much. Knowing that someone this unhinged was still watching us, both in-game and in real life. That's when Manson said, "What if he didn't find us by coincidence? What if he'd already been watching us and used Star Wars Galaxies to get close?" We remembered the first night we met him in-game, Glitter, Manson, and I had a lecture together. We were the last to leave and had been talking about our plans to quest on Tatooine caves. Who else was in that room? Only John, our TA. Quiet guy, always kind of lurking. Lived on campus. We didn't go to campus security. We had no proof. But one day, Make Wookiee came online again. We messaged him, straight up, "Are you John the TA?" His reply, "Huh." Over and over, spamming every one of us. Final straw, someone slipped a note into my bag. More vile, hateful words, calling me names, accusing Dave of awful things. We did report everything to campus security, but with no solid evidence. There wasn't much they could do. We never told them about John the TA. It didn't feel right. And honestly, John seemed normal, just quiet. We never found out who Make Wookiee really was. But we stopped playing. It ruined the game for us. And now, 20 years later, I still feel a little less safe than I used to. I found John on Facebook recently. He's a tenured professor now. I even snooped around a private Facebook group for his current college. There were posts from students talking about anonymous harassment and weird behavior on campus. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe. Make Wookiee never stopped. They never did come out of the building as I watched, because they'd already left. We found this out later thanks to security camera footage from the apartment lobby and some nearby businesses. They pulled up in a dark van, hustled inside with their hoods up, and entered our apartment. Yeah, they let themselves into the building and our apartment with a key. They were in there for over 30 minutes, absolutely demolishing the place. Then they left. Of course, the van had clone plates, and nobody's face was caught clearly on camera. But that wasn't even my biggest concern at the time. The camera in our apartment building's lobby had audio, and while no identifying details were caught, you could hear the music they'd started blasting once inside the apartment. Likely from Chris's sound system, the one thing he owned that wasn't completely trashed. Now, maybe you're wondering where I was during all of this. Or maybe, if you're particularly eagle-eared, you've already figured it out. Where was I? I was in the apartment. The whole time, I was playing Blade and Sorcery in VR, with noise-canceling headphones, like complete oblivious chump. There I was, flailing my arms around and fighting off undead skeleton warriors in virtual reality, while just 2 rooms away, actual machete-wielding maniacs were destroying my roommate's belongings to send a message. I'll get to that message in a second. I can't be certain, but I'm pretty sure my bedroom door was open during that VR session. I'm almost positive the invaders came through, saw me swinging my arms in VR, and just left me to it. Like, let the gamer guy do his thing. I don't know what they would have done if I'd stopped playing and caught them in the act. Chris reassured me later that it would have been fine, quote unquote, but I was already pissed at him over several things by then. These guys caused tens of thousands of dollars in damage. Our security deposits were gone. They weren't afraid to use spray paint and blades on the walls. So would they have hesitated to use machetes on me? Maybe, but if I confronted them, the absolute best-case scenario would have been a brutal beating. Instead, they left me there, immersed in my stupid VR game. I can only hope they found it funny. Or maybe my VR sword skills looked so pathetic that they figured I wouldn't be any trouble if it came down to it. So why did they break in? Chris had been messing around with a girl who was with one of those guys. He said she told him they had broken up. I'm not so sure about that. And of course, I never got to find out, because Chris played dumb to the cops and claimed he had no idea why someone would be so mad at him. He only admitted the truth to me months later, after things had already blown over. And even then, he didn't tell me exactly who these people were, which honestly, I'm fine with. I don't want to know, but I did want to know how they got a key. Turns out, the girl who had been cheating on her gang-affiliated boyfriend had stolen Chris's key and handed it over as penance for cheating. She basically sold us both out. And Chris, genius that he is, didn't even notice his key was missing. Or, if he did, he never thought to tell me. Never connected the dots. Needless to say, I was furious that Chris hadn't warned me, especially when I was the one who almost got killed. Chris had the audacity to tell me that I was lucky, if anything. He said he was partly doing this to protect me. These are the kind of people you don't screw with, he said. Oh yeah? Then why were you screwing one of their girls, you idiot? Anyway, arguing with Chris never got you anywhere. So I clenched my jaw, told him I understood why he let them get away scot-free. And as soon as our lease was up, I got out of there. Now I live in a much safer, more comfortable suburb with my amazing girlfriend. And I'm grateful I do, because man, I couldn't quit VR even if I tried. I've got the Meta Quest 3 now. It's even better than the 2. Thankfully, that horrible experience didn't ruin gaming for me. But you can bet your ass I take regular awareness breaks now. I don't use noise-canceling headphones anymore. And I never play VR when I'm home alone.